pay insurance?
Seniors can save money on their car insurance.
You might save a little, you might save a lot.
Maybe hundreds of dollars a year.
You might save 5% a year, maybe 10%, 15%, or even more.
That's a lot of money.
So call right now and find out just how much money you might be able to save.
Call 1-800-460-5622, 1-800-460-5622.
We all know that movement is like medicine, but getting the movement you need to feel better can be a challenge. Now you can keep fit while you sit with QB, the world's leading compact seated elliptical. QB gives you active sitting, letting you burn calories and keep moving in an easy and low-impact way, all while you work, read, or watch TV. QB was named a top 10 gift by Time Magazine and has been featured all over the world. It's whisper quiet while it works your abs and core, hip flexors, glutes, quads, hamstrings, and calves.
QB is a lifesaver for me.
Here's your answer to your problem.
I feel young again.
Join the hundreds of thousands of people moving more with QB. Call to find out how to get your QB with free shipping and a 30-day completely risk-free trial. You'll also get this QB workout mat free. Now keep fit while you sit with QB.
To order, call 800-289-5820. That's 800-289-5820. Call now.
Good evening and welcome to RFL. I am Richard French. We're going to start tonight with the state of the Republican Party as it gathers for a retreat in Orlando this week to plan for its future, even though it cannot shake its past, namely Donald J. Trump and the MAGA wing of the party. Now, the woman on your screen right there, Liz Cheney, she's right in the middle of this debate. The Wyoming congresswoman is in GOP leadership, third-ranking member, but she was still one of only 10 Republicans to vote to impeach Trump the second time. It led to this awkward scene earlier this year.
Do you believe President Trump should be speaking, or former President Trump should be speaking at CPAC this weekend?
Yes, he should.
Congresswoman Cheney?
That's up to CPAC. I've been clear in my views about President Trump and the extent to which following January 6th, I don't believe that he should be playing a role in the future of the party or the country.
On that high note, thank you all very much.
And today in Orlando, Cheney reiterated that Trump is not in charge of the party and it's time to move on and focus on traditional conservative principles. But the top House Republican, the man you just saw there, Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, he continues to stick up for Trump and defend his actions on January 6th.
When I talked to President Trump about, I was the first person to contact him when the riots was going on. He didn't see it. What he ended the call was telling me he'll put something out to make sure to stop this. And that's what he did. He put a video out later.
Quite a lot later. And it was a pretty weak video. But I'm asking you specifically, did he say to you, I guess some people are more concerned about the election than you are?
No, listen, my conversations with the president are my conversations with the president. I engaged in the idea of making sure we could stop what was going on inside the Capitol at that moment in time, and the president said he would help.
I want you to compare what you just heard there from this Sunday to what McCarthy said soon after the riots.
The president bears responsibility for Wednesday's attack on Congress by mob rioters. He should have immediately denounced the mob when he saw what was unfolding.
But that type of talk about Trump, its ancient history, as the Trump wing continues to gloss over the horrors there was the Capitol riot and Trump's role in it. Now, we are learning much more about what happened behind closed doors when the GOP conference met for the first time after the riot and the second impeachment. We're talking about 3 to 4 weeks later. Those meetings, usually predictable, sparsely attended, but on February 3rd, it was a packed house and things got heated. The topic of that gathering, whether or not to remove Cheney from leadership. And a new piece in the magazine section of the New York Times describes what happened there. The headline, Liz Cheney versus MAGA. My first guest tonight, he penned that piece, Robert Draper. He joins us now. Robert, a lot of questions to ask you coming out of the piece. Were you surprised by what you learned happened behind closed doors in that meeting? Some of it seemed to be concerns over math. Some of it seemed to be concerns that she abandoned the party. But the language that was used with Congresswoman Cheney, were you surprised by the tone of it?
Surprised by how personal it was. Yes, I've covered lots of these conferences that the House Republicans have had in the past. They tend to be pretty pro forma. They tend not to focus on any one individual. The very notion of having a special conference to discuss whether or not to remove from leadership a particular member is extraordinary in and of itself. But as you're indicating, to focus, as so many of the members did, on what they felt was a kind of personal slight that Liz Cheney, having voted to impeach the president, put all of them in a bad spot because she wasn't just some backbencher. She was, the number 3 person in the House Republicans, and that she was being saluted for her forthrightness, for her courage, and doing so called into question their own courage. And so a lot of these guys, and they were uniformly guys in the conference, were demanding an apology, which she would not give, and were correspondingly frustrated by that, and said that she was disrespectful, that she lacked empathy. And these are not the kinds of things you ordinarily hear coming out of any sort of House Republican meeting.
I want to get to the EQ quote in a second, and I acknowledge we're 2 guys here talking about this, but to me, the sexist, patronizing tone that I got from your reporting, I had to read twice, and I'll go through just a few of the ones that jumped out. Congressman Northam, obviously these are all Republican men from Congress, he representing South Carolina, he said what really bothered him was, quote, your attitude. You've got a defiant attitude. And again, she's seniority. Mike Kelly, Pennsylvania, said, it's like you look up in the stands to see your girlfriend is on the opposite side. That's one of a tough thing to swallow. And finally, this guy, Jeff Duncan of South Carolina, said, she used to have a conservative record, but then she became almost a never-Trumper. I've been disappointed in her lack of humility. It struck a lot of us not only as odd, but just as wow. Again, this is not some freshman backbencher. She's the 3rd-ranking Republican. And for some guys in the nosebleeds to say they feel as if their girlfriend's, gone to the other sidelines, or that she's not being humble enough, or that she's showing defiance, the nerve.
The nerve, indeed, and again, I mean, from Liz Cheney's perspective, she was not saying to any of them what I'm about to say to you, but I know this is how she felt, which is like, if anybody should be doing some apologizing here, it should be you guys, because there was an insurrection at the Capitol, and we have simply got to disentangle ourselves from the leader of our party who egged on the rioters. And if there was ever a case for impeachment, this is it. I'm not going to apologize for it, and if it puts you guys in a bad spot, then you know what, you should have manned up and done the same. You should have done the same vote yourself. The reality is, as Cheney, I've been familiar with this, and Cheney is as well, that a lot of Republicans, in private, will concede that, oh yeah, we've got to move on from this guy, from Trump, but they won't say it publicly because they're afraid it will be the end of their political career. They're afraid their families will be harassed. They're afraid they'll have death threats, and it will just cause so much more consternation. So they would rather just kind of keep on keeping on and hope that somehow Trumpism goes away of its own accord.
But I'm sorry, Robert, for some of these guys that can't, put their big boys pants on, there was another quote that you had in there where, I think it was Congressman Smucker, Pennsylvania, said that Congresswoman Cheney had a low EQ or emotional quotient. Another lawmaker commented, said it seemed like a bunch of guys complaining that a woman didn't take their emotions into account for hours. The whip count happens. It's 145 to 61. This was not a nail biter. My question is, clearly the plurality are on her side on this. Is it really that fear of primaries and their families getting harassed that'll make them swallow and bite their tongue? Or even worse, will they say different in front of the cameras?
Well, in a way, you've answered your own question, right? Because we've seen what has happened to Liz Cheney. She has suffered, what I term in the story the Liz Cheney treatment, and none of them wants it. None of them wants to have Donald Trump calling her out by name, as he did both on January the 6th and has in a number of speeches since then. He has, made clear that among his high priorities in 2022 is to take her out. And so no other Republican wants this kind of grief, and they recognize that that's exactly what they would be bringing on themselves if they were to speak out. Now, the question, of course, is that how about if a lot of Republicans did this? Not one, not two, not three, but dozens upon dozens, or dare I say it, even like half the conference? Would they really all get primaried, or would it help sort of create a kind of, would it set into motion the conditions that would ultimately result in, the expulsion of Trump from the party? The failure to do that simply just means that Trump is still kind of hanging over them like a stalking ex-husband, and simply closing one's eyes and hoping that he'll disappear does not seem to be an effective approach.
One of the other things I got from your piece was subtract all the morality, and she said, listen, this is not who our party is, this is not healthy for a democracy, this isn't what the Constitution commands. She said he being Trump, is bad for their party, and all you have to look who's in the White House right now, who's in control of the Senate. To that end, Mitch McConnell has always been able to count, Robert. Why would he have said what he said, even though he was a no vote for impeachment? Clearly, throwing down the gauntlet with Trump and saying no more, it's not your party anymore, to turn around to find out that no one followed him. I would have thought, he is always calculating. He did his due diligence, said, guys, we don't need to be afraid of him anymore if we stick together. It seemed that he walked and turned around and no one followed.
Well, the difference between the way Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell and House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy have gone about leading their respective conferences is pretty stark, right? I mean, in McConnell's case, he made clear during the first impeachment vote when Mitt Romney cast his solo vote to impeach the president, he told Senator Romney, this is not in any way going to affect your standing in the conference. You contrast that with how Kevin McCarthy has distanced himself from Liz Cheney in the wake of her vote on impeachment. McCarthy is of the view that for the Republicans to take back the House and potentially the Senate as well, is going to require staying close to Trump. McConnell's view is in alignment with Liz Cheney's, which is that we simply cannot, again, do the math as you were saying. I mean, we've lost the White House. We have lost the popular vote by healthy margins under Trump twice now. And so no one in their right minds can really say that Trumpism is the formula for party success. But McCarthy believes that, at least tamping down Trump's emotions, at least holding him in check, will hopefully create the conditions by which they should win back the House, which frankly should be an easy proposition anyway, because they only need to flip like 5 seats. But yes, you're right. I mean, McConnell is definitely of the view, though he did not vote to impeach, that the party simply cannot abide Trump as its effective leader, and he's doing everything I think that he can, and up to and including utterly distancing himself from the former president. They have not spoken in months to make clear that as far as he's concerned, Trump was the last leader, but not the current leader.
If there is such a thing in today's day and age as the smart money, is it that in 2 years Trump still holds sway? And I ask that with a couple moving factors. I've been speaking, Robert, to a lot of the folks behind the corporations pushing back or reconsidering their positions in way of the voter suppression cases in Georgia and now beyond. And also these looming probes in New York, both city, state, and beyond. The president, he's not going to have good press, is the point is, coming out here in the coming months and year. Do they think just wait it out and let time and other factors take down the president? Or do they think they got to figure out, if you're going to go after the king, kill the king before November of 22?
Well, everybody has, there are these competing theories, as I've delineated, and you're right to say that November 2022 is when we begin to, we can view that more or less as an acid test. Now, it's not going to be utterly declarative, because one can interpret, for example, if the Republicans do take back the House, they could do that just simply through redistricting. It's not going to require some clever campaign strategy. So if they do manage to do that, it isn't necessarily going to be because Donald Trump made it happen. If they fail to do it also, there could be a variety of factors for that. I suspect that it will take all the way until 2024 before we see, if, for example, a candidate emerges, and my personal belief is that it will not be Donald Trump, that Trump, based on the reporting that I've done from people around him, is very mindful of the fact that he's getting up there in years and enjoys keeping everybody at bay, but ultimately is not going to run himself. But if the Republican nominee is someone who is unabashedly a Trumpy nominee and gets beat badly by Biden, or if he steps down Kamala Harris, then I think that has got to be interpreted as a referendum, a negative referendum on Trumpism. But I think it's going to take all the way until a moment such as that, until 2024, for that message to be loud and clear to the Republicans.
Well, again, the piece in this week's New York Times Magazine, Liz Cheney versus MAGA, was great reporting. Robert Draper, I appreciate the time. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
And up next, new calls to police the police. That in the wake of the Derek Chauvin trial and several high-profile shootings by officers across this country. After the break, I'll speak with a man who wants to become the top law enforcement officer in Manhattan. We'll discuss policing and a whole lot more.
Shake your legs, shake your abs, shake your butt, shake up your entire body to a slim, firm, and sexy new you with PowerFit Elite, the breakthrough multi-directional vibration platform that helps engage all your muscles from the moment you step on it. PowerFit uses multi-directional vibration to create muscle confusion and rapidly contract and relax your muscles to help you get fit and stay fit.
It's intense. You really feel your whole body working. You could be watching TV, but you do feel the workout.
It works you out where you don't feel like you're working out. It's actually a lot of fun.
Each traditional exercise that you do on PowerFit Elite can help sculpt, transform, and redefine your body from head to toe. The secret is the multi-directional vibration technology that causes muscle confusion and forces them to contract and counter-challenge you. Your muscles work hard so you can stabilize and maintain your balance. There are 3 standing positions: walking, jogging, and then running. Plus, there are 3 different program levels for workouts to choose from, so you can really customize your workout. PowerFit Elite can help improve your energy, burn calories, tone your body, define your abs, work your arms, strengthen your legs, boost your buttocks, and so much more. And for an even more intense workout, add resistance bands for bicep curls, forward lateral raises, and crisscross pulls. It's time to join the new fitness revolution that's shaking up the world. Call or go online now and you can try PowerFit Elite in your home for 30 days for only $14.95. But wait, order right now and we'll upgrade you to the deluxe set that includes the complete workout guide, the power bands, and the handy remote control. That's an over $80 value free. Try PowerFit Elite in your home for 30 days. And if it's not the best workout system you've used, just return it for a refund of your trial price. But hold everything, we'll also add our healthy eating plan to help you achieve your best possible results free. Try PowerFit Elite in your home for 30 days for only $14.95 and experience the power of extreme vibration.
After an auto accident, insurance companies will try to outsmart you and pay as little as possible. At Vocate Legal, our attorneys know exactly how big insurance thinks and how to outsmart them. That's all we do, day in and day out. Call us today or visit vocate.com for a free consultation. We'll help you connect to a qualified attorney in under 10 minutes. Get a free consultation and we'll start working for you right away. Better yet, you don't pay unless you win your case. Our accomplished attorneys have the experience and knowledge to handle your case strategically and will fight to get your medical expenses paid, your car repaired, and the maximum compensation. Make the right move and partner with one of our Vocate legal attorneys at no upfront cost to you. Call us today or visit vocate.com for a free consultation.
Vocate Legal, fight smarter.
It has been nearly a week since a jury in Minneapolis found Derek Chauvin guilty on all charges, including murder, over the death of George Floyd. They deliberated for less than 10 hours. The vast majority of the American public feels that justice was served in this particular case. But over the past couple of weeks, we have seen fatal police shootings that were not nearly as cut as dry as the Floyd murder, which happened in broad daylight over the course of 9.5 minutes, with several people watching and cell phone cameras rolling. In Chicago, 13-year-old Adam Toledo suffered a fatal gunshot at the hands of an officer. But this happened at 2:30 in the morning after police responded to 911 calls about gunshots. When officers arrived 2 minutes later, they pursued two males carrying guns, and they caught up with Adam in the alley. And as he raised his arms, police had to react in a split second, not knowing that he had just dropped his weapon right before he was confronted. In Columbus, Ohio, we saw an arriving officer responding to calls of a knife-wielding assailant, and when he arrived, 16-year-old Makia Bryant was lunging at another teen with a blade. Then the officer again made a split-second decision and opened fire, taking the teen's life. Now, I mention these cases to point out that all police-involved shootings are not the same, and we need to allow the cases to play out in our criminal justice system. Now, there are renewed calls to revamp that system with new bills at both the local and federal levels dealing with police use of force, removing some legal shields for police, and much more. My next guest, he's got the perfect resume to discuss all of this. Alvin Bragg is former Chief Deputy Attorney General of New York, where one of his duties was overseeing investigations of law enforcement conduct. He is now a Democratic candidate for Manhattan District Attorney. He's also a law professor at New York Law School. Alvin, good talking to you again.
Good to see you. Thanks for having me on and to talk about such a sobering and important topic.
I know there's two things we can agree on, that in the Chauvin case, justice served, and that all police-involved shootings are not the same, as much as some would like to throw a blanket over them. But are there lines where they're all tragic when someone loses a life, but they don't reach the level of criminality? And if you were the DA, how do you convey and communicate to a public that in some cases it's just that, a tragedy and not a crime?
Well, I would take a step back and actually, I don't agree with both the premises. I mean, I think in the Chauvin trial, we had some measure of accountability, but justice in these cases would be, obviously the life not lost, in my view. So I do take your point that all of these cases, need to be viewed on their own merits from a criminal prosecution standpoint. But the broader lens is just the racial data on these cases in particular is a tragedy unto itself. The fact that the number of deaths we have and the racial disparities of the deaths is really troubling in and of itself. But you're right, we have to look at each case, in terms of criminal prosecution. And I've done that throughout my career investigating these cases. I do think there's some issues with the law. The law varies from state to state, but as a general matter, the law is, in my view, too deferential to police officers. Here in New York State, my home state, I've been advocating for a change of law to last resort, that the police can only use lethal police force if there's nothing else that they can do to save their life or the life of someone else.
So, Alvin, let's pick it up there and use, for example, the Columbus case. God forbid you're confronted with that in New York City if you're the new DA. If the officer doesn't intervene, another child could lose their life here. What standard do we hold, or should we hold, to law enforcement? I know we say last resort, but 9.5 minutes is an eternity. 1 or 2 seconds isn't. How do we figure out, where even if it's a mistake, it's within the scope of a job versus something that was criminal?
Right. So the first, just as I guess a public service announcement, that in the state of New York, as of April, under a new law, all of these cases that result in a death are now with the jurisdiction of the Attorney General's office. So in terms of who would investigate, they would not be investigated by a local district attorney. They would be investigated by the Attorney General's office. That's an outgrowth of when I was at the Attorney General's office and was a special prosecutor. That role has now been codified into law and the jurisdiction expanded. But last resort is not the standard in New York, right? The standard in New York is grown out of a federal case called Graham versus Connor, which is the case in many parts of the country, which talks about whether or not an officer believes that it has a reasonable view as to whether deadly force is necessary. So that standard, in my view, is too permissive and needs to be tightened up. But you're right. I mean, the Chauvin facts and having 9 minutes is different in terms of the proof at trial. There was really no self-defense trial case put on. It was much more focused on causation, was the principal defense. So you're right that the cases will be tried differently and investigated differently, based upon the facts presented.
When should the videos be made public? And Congresswoman Omar believes that even the state AG shouldn't be the ones trying these cases. It should be handled by the feds. Who's the right group? And you spoke from experience that you were at the state level when they made that change, but nonetheless, when do you release the video, and who in the end should be doing the investigating?
Yeah. So I think that it's important that we have someone do the investigation who is not involved day in, day out in sort of an exclusive relationship with a local police force. So, in New York, that would be the local prosecutors, working with local police departments. The state attorney general's office has may have a relationship with police departments throughout the state, but certainly not the same with the local ones. And we certainly should be staffed as a matter with people who do not have relationships and don't work directly with the local police department from the prosecutors who are assigned. Under our New York law, as a sort of a constitutional matter, it has to either be the local DA or the state attorney general's office. The federal prosecutor, I was a federal prosecutor as well. As a general matter, federal prosecutors will defer locally to law enforcement that's local and have them go first. I mean, the one that your viewers may remember most famously on this was the Rodney King matter, which was tried first locally to an acquittal and then tried subsequently to a federal jury, and there was a conviction. There's some double jeopardy issues and things of that nature, and also some kind of principles of federalism where generally the federal government will defer and let the local government go first. And if the result is an acquittal or something where the federal government thinks it should be enhanced in some way, then they will go second.
I want to get your reaction to a couple of decisions that could impact certainly you or whoever wins the race. The Supreme Court right now is taking up a gun case in New York, specifically about whether or not New York, in effect, can have a prohibition on concealed carry. What's your sense? And if the Supreme Court, with its new makeup, said, nope, New York, you went too far, if people got a permit that's valid somewhere else, they should be able to carry in New York.
This reciprocity that's now been pushing, by very conservative forces, pushed in Congress and pushed around the country is dangerous for our safety. I mean, think about this: someone who's got a gun license in Texas, and then because of that permit, can then ride the 2 train here through Manhattan. It doesn't respect, to use the language of some of those who are pushing this, states' rights. We in New York purposely have very strong gun laws. That's what we've chosen to do here. We shouldn't be holding to other states. And in fact, right now we have a challenge in that states with lax gun laws, where guns are sold, are then being brought into our state by gun traffickers, and that's something I would prioritize as Manhattan District Attorney to address, and work on which I led at the New York State Attorney General's office. So we need to be saying no to this dangerous concept of reciprocity, and we need to be doing more in terms of enforcing those who are bringing guns in illegally from outside of our state, and they're ending up doing lots of harm here.
The Manhattan DA's office just announced it's not going to prosecute prostitution cases. I know you'll tell me there's a distinction with the difference, but isn't that basically saying it's no longer illegal here to go to a pro?
Well, I mean, there's a difference between what's codified as law and enforcement. But look, I've been in public service for most of my career. My theory of prosecutions is you follow the money and you follow the contraband, drugs or guns, to the most culpable person or people, and that will lead you to real change in crime. What the Vice Squad does here in Manhattan now, arresting people on the street for these offenses, isn't making us safer. And if you look at the way that they're going about doing it, the racial disparities are stark. more than 80% of people who they arrest who are, purchasing sex, and the same more than 80% for those who are sex workers are non-white. And we know from the data that this doesn't match with the reality of who's doing this conduct. So the system of enforcement now is not making us safer, and is taking us away from what we should be thinking about, which is sort of systems. Folks who are thinking back a case that my old office did, looking at organizations which are preying on runaways and then trafficking them. That's the kind of impact we need to be having, looking at cases like that actually have large-scale effects on our public safety.
Are you going to be the next DA?
I believe so. I'm trying to earn the support of enough Manhattanites. I think we have a lot of momentum. Got a number of big endorsements last week, Planned Parenthood, the 1199 union, and been talking to everyday Manhattanites throughout the borough, and they are excited, and we are excited to talk to them. So to all your viewers who can vote in Manhattan on June 22nd, I humbly ask them to vote and support my candidacy.
Alvin, good luck. Alvin Bragg there. All right, everyone, when we come back, we're going to head to D.C. and we're going to show you what is happening this week in our nation's capital. The answer, a lot. President Biden is going to address the nation as he wraps up his first 100 days. Supreme Court in session, as you heard, working on several major cases and a lot more. We'll get into that after this.
The first 3 months, we saved $4,100.
CarShield saved me over $6,000 in engine repairs.
I saved $4,100 out of pocket.
Amazing, amazing.
Customers everywhere agree, if your car is out of warranty, you need to call CarShield before your car has an expensive breakdown.
Without CarShield, there was no way that I could afford to get my car fixed.
An engine, transmission, or computer system breakdown could cost you thousands of dollars, but not with CarShield, America's #1 car protection provider.
CarShield saved us $4,000. That was great, right?
Yes, it was.
We're just happy with CarShield. They put a transmission in it and a motor. Who does that?
CarShield makes sure you don't have to pay for expensive car repairs.
The components that we're using are not getting cheaper. So nowadays, coverage is even more important.
CarShield covers most makes and models from 5,000 to 150,000 miles.
It's easy, affordable, and no long-term contracts.
And when customers realize that they're getting a $5,000 job for $100, they're excited. I've had customers who were so happy that they did break down into tears and cry.
We saved over $6,000 on a complete engine rebuild of our truck.
With CarShield, I saved over $3,600. It's a no-brainer.
I never have to worry about being taken advantage of when it comes to car repairs.
It's like having a suit of armor around my car.
Cars will break down, and those breakdowns could cost you thousands unless you call CarShield today and get the protection you deserve.
CarShield saved me in excess of $10,000.
And when you call, you'll also receive at no extra cost roadside assistance, towing services, and rental coverage.
If your car's out of warranty, believe me, you want to have CarShield.
Make the smart choice and protect yourself from sky-high auto repair bills. Call now for a free and instant protection plan quote. It's only a matter of time until repairs are needed. And once your car breaks down, it's too late. Call 800-858-4214, 800-858-4214.
Are you over the age of 50 and considering buying an annuity in the next 60 days? I have some important news for you. Don't buy an annuity until you understand the pros and cons of annuities. Call now for this free book on maximizing your income in retirement, Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers, from leading financial firm J.D. Mellberg. That's right, free. This book reveals little-known truths about annuities in simple-to-understand terms. Grab a pen right now, because we're about to offer you this free book that unlocks the 5 little-known truths we believe baby boomers and seniors should know before buying an annuity, and it's free. Call 800-851-7261. As a bonus, we'll also throw in a free annuity rate report. We researched numerous products and summarized rates and benefits of annuities, all from Silac Insurance Company. Call 800-851-7261. That's 800-851-7261. Call now.
As President Biden winds down his first 100 days, with day 100 this Thursday and his first speech to a joint session of Congress on Wednesday, his approval ratings, they remain solid. Latest numbers show the majority of this country likes the job that he's doing, and he's 14 points above water. Now, for the sake of comparison, Donald Trump, he was underwater by double digits at the very same point of his nascent presidency. He never, ever got above 50%. And as you can see, Barack Obama, George W. Bush also had high marks from the American public during their first 100 days. Now, when Biden heads to the Hill Wednesday night, he is expected to push for reforms to policing, spell out the specifics of his infrastructure plan that also includes funding for things like education and child care, and also discuss the pandemic. The agenda, it is packed, but the House chamber will not be. It will be limited to about 200 people, that due to COVID, in a room that certainly can hold at least 1,500. Now, the Supreme Court is also in session as we speak. It announced today that it will hear a major Second Amendment case for the first time in a decade. The justices, they're reviewing a New York law that imposes strict limits on carrying guns outside the home. At issue, how much the Second Amendment protects the rights of individuals to carry concealed weapons. New York State says it doesn't, but the case before the High Court is challenging that. Another huge case in front of the justices, it involves money in politics, as if there's not enough. And also how much people and companies with deep pockets can throw at candidates they're supporting and do so in privacy. Now, the infamous Citizens United decision basically opened up the spigot for corporations to spend unlimited sums of money. The case before the court now would make it even easier for companies to spend big bucks without having to disclose who they are and who they're giving to. The justices will also consider cases about abortion, the death penalty, the First Amendment, and so much more. And up next, we will pivot to COVID. We're going to show you what's happening with the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Also explain why you could soon ditch masks when you go outside.
When you fall and can't get help, you will lie on the floor for hours or days in constant, terrible anguish, which often results in a tragic outcome. But with Life Alert, one touch of a button can get you help fast.
Don't worry, help is on the way.
With any of Life Alert's 3 emergency systems, help can be summoned immediately, whether at home,
I've fallen and I can't get up.
in the bathroom,
I've fallen in the shower.
or on the go.
Help! I'm in the park and I can't get up.
And batteries never need charging. Life Alert saves a life every 11 minutes.
For a free Life Alert brochure, call 1-800-215-6582. That's 1-800-215-6582. Call now. 1-800-215-6582.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
This is important news for people who took certain drugs for HIV and then suffered serious injury to their kidneys or bones. If you or a loved one took Truvada, Viriad, Atroplus, Stribild, or Complera and were then diagnosed with kidney disease, kidney failure, bone fractures, bone density loss, or softening of the bones, call Davis & Crump right now to see if you're eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Our first consultation is free and we don't get paid unless you get paid. Call Davis & Crump right now. Operators are standing.
I think it's pretty common sense now that outdoor risk is really quite low, particularly, I mean, if you are a vaccinated person wearing a mask outdoors, I mean, obviously the risk is minuscule. What I believe you're going to be hearing, what the country is going to be hearing soon, is updated guidelines from the CDC.
Dr. Fauci, he's talking about whether or not we're going to still need to continue to mask up when we go outside. And as you heard, the CDC expected to make an announcement about that shortly. And in the meantime, the vaccines continue to be the big story. After a temporary pause, the government has now cleared the Johnson & Johnson shot to be used once again. It's the only one-shot regimen, but it was pulled after a handful of women developed rare blood clots. But now, FDA says the benefits far, far outweigh the risks. The question is, will people be willing to go with that J&J shot? Or vaccine hesitancy, will it be a bigger problem than we even had before? A new poll from ABC News and the Washington Post shows that less than half of Americans see it as safe. Nearly 3/4 say they wouldn't get that shot. And overall, nearly 1 in 4 say they are not inclined to get inoculated at all. That's a problem. In the wake of the Johnson & Johnson situation, fewer Americans now getting inoculated. 2 weeks ago, nearly 3.5 million people in this country were getting the shot each and every day. Now, you got fewer than 3 million people a day getting that shot. Millions of Americans, they're skipping their second shot, which is a bad idea, as that means they're not getting fully protected from the virus. In the meantime, the number of cases remains stubbornly high and still averaging nearly 60,000 new cases every day. But as you can see from this chart, the trend lines, they are going down, and the number of new cases has fallen by double digits over the past 2 weeks. Michigan, though, could be a warning sign. It continues to be the hardest hit state in the union. Majority of older Michigan residents, they're fully vaccinated. But here's the twist. Most younger people are not, and now COVID wards are filling up with people in their 20s and 30s, and hospitals are reporting more and more of those young patients are requiring oxygen or even life support. But India, well, that's a different story. It has become the world's epicenter as COVID is spreading out of control in that country. Tonight, what officials in India call a tsunami of coronavirus cases is fast becoming a global catastrophe. For the third day in a row, the country's shattering world records. More than 345,000 cases reported in just the past 24 hours, nearly 1 million in the last 3 days alone.
The situation in India is a devastating reminder of what this virus can do.
The death toll is so high, mass cremations are being held in the street. The country's underfunded healthcare system on the brink of collapse, hospitals running out of room, leaving patients on gurneys in the streets. The government forced to turn these train cars into mobile units. This desperate young woman crying out, the hospital is useless. Her mother taken away on a rusty gurney. Stricken hospitals pleading with the federal government to provide emergency supplies of oxygen after 20 people reportedly died without it in Delhi. The health ministry reporting more than 2,600 deaths in just the past 24 hours. But experts say even those figures are likely an undercount. We'll be right back with more on RFL.
Has your AC busted, computer crashed, appliance broken? Then you need ARW, American Residential Warranty.
Hi, it's me, Anthony Sullivan. And yes, you've actually caught me at home relaxing because life's been pretty worry-free since I got coverage with American Residential Warranty.
Home appliance repairs and replacement can cause stress and cost you over $3,000 per year. But starting at less than $1 a day, ARW has home warranty plans that cover household appliances, systems, and electronics. Parts and labor included.
When I needed ARW, they were there. My oven actually took a dive in the middle of making a big dinner for family and friends, picked up the phone, called ARW, they repaired it, dinner saved, that easy.
My air conditioning broke on a Sunday. It was so hot, I called ARW and they came out and fixed it right away.
You won't believe what ARW covers. Heating and air conditioning, washers and dryers, kitchen appliances, plumbing, water heaters, electrical systems, even pools and spas, and so much more. All you have to do is call or go to getahomeplan.com. Plus, ARW's partner with Assurant to offer protection for all your new and used household electronics for just one low price.
I dropped my laptop and ARW replaced it with a brand new one, and all I paid was a small service fee.
All plans are fully customizable and come with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Call now and get a home security system valued at $1,250 free with any plan. And you can trust ARW to be there when you need it. Just call ARW and a licensed technician will be dispatched to your home. All covered repairs
repairs are guaranteed.
My refrigerator broke, and not only did ARW repair it fast, they even sent me a reimbursement check for all the food that went bad.
So come on, relax. Stop worrying about unexpected breakdowns and costly repairs. Call American Residential Warranty. They'll get you covered.
Call 1-800-253-1237. Again, that's 1-800-253-1237 or log on to getahomeplan.com today.
8 years ago, my daughter called to say she was expecting our first grandchild, but I never heard her say it. So a few years ago, Gina bought me a nano hearing aid. And now I love hearing Ryan call me Papa. And at only $297 for a full pair, they make a great gift for someone you know. Plus, call now and order one hearing aid, and Nano will give you a second absolutely free.
Call 1-800-238-2857.
Well, the Oscars were given out last night, but a big question is, did anyone really tune in to see it? The ratings, they collapsed this year as no blockbuster movies came out last year for obvious reasons. The entire show, it was scaled down due to COVID. Here's a look at the winners, the losers, and the upsets.
And the Oscar goes to Nomadland.
Chloe Zhao's Nomadland, a portrait of itinerant lives on open roads across the American West, taking home Best 3 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, and a much different Oscar ceremony this year. The China-born Zhao becoming the first woman of color to win Best Director.
This is for anyone who has the faith and the courage to hold on to the goodness in themselves and to hold on to the goodness in each other, no matter how difficult it is to do that.
For the Academy Awards, no Zoom acceptance speeches were allowed, and all the nominees were required to appear in person or on satellite.
Frances McDormand.
Frances McDormand rounded out Nomadland's wins, taking home Best Actress the third time she won the award. But the night's biggest surprise?
Anthony Hopkins, the father.
Sir Anthony Hopkins winning Best Actor for his role in the dementia drama, The Father. Many believe the award would go to Chadwick Boseman for his final performance in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Hopkins wasn't in attendance, the Academy accepting the award on his behalf. Daniel Kaluuya took home Best Supporting Actor for his role in Judas and the Black Messiah, while Ye Jung-yoon made history as the first Korean actress ever to win in an acting category for playing a grandmother in Minari.
Mr. Brad Pitt, finally. Nice to meet you.
Another deviation, Best Original Song nominees performed at a pre-show, not during the actual telecast.
And for more, let's bring in our guest to discuss. Elizabeth Wagmeister, Chief Variety Senior Correspondent. Elizabeth, if you believe those overnight numbers that are coming in, I'm one of the few people who watched the whole thing last night. I'm sorry, it was light on real memorable moments and was light on the fun. And I get it. Historically, this is a place where we're going to have a lot of political statements. But did the Academy and did the attendees really miss an opportunity last night, especially as we're beginning to reopen?
You know, I think that viewership has been down for award shows for quite some time, certainly before the pandemic. And a big reason is because there is always criticism from both sides of the spectrum. You always have people who say this is great. Celebrities should use their platform. They should talk about social justice issues. They have millions of followers. They have huge influence. And then you have other people who say, if I'm watching the Oscars, I want to tune in for the entertainment, for the love of film. I don't want to have to hear about all the other stuff that I hear on the news all day long. So that's been an issue with the Oscars for quite some time. And then certainly with the pandemic, viewership has continued to decline for all award shows. And that is why last night we didn't see anyone on Zoom. You recall that from the Golden Globes and the SAG Awards and every other award show throughout this very strange past year throughout the COVID pandemic, that we've seen a lot of award shows where everybody's been on Zoom. And there was this sense among the producers that there is Zoom fatigue. And that's why they wanted everybody to be in person in the same room. They thought that might help people tune in. But to your point, it seems like you were one of the few that did tune in last night. So perhaps there was a missed opportunity.
And the other on the opportunities missed was, weren't you a little surprised by how few clips were shown, particularly because a lot of these movies people didn't get a chance to see, certainly in the theaters, and maybe if they got to see even more than normal, but it seemed to go the other direction, people would have been more incentivized to, go to Netflix or wherever else and watch the film. I was waiting to see more in the way of video than just talkers.
That's absolutely correct. I have the same sentiment as you. And I know that a lot of people in the industry are questioning a lot of the creative decisions from the producers behind the telecast. Usually when the presenters announce each category, to your point, you see a lot of clips of these films. And that is a way to clue people in on what the films are. And certainly this has been such an atypical year. As you said, theaters have been closed. And it's kind of ironic because people have been on their couches able to stream most of these films you can stream right from home, but still more people than ever did not know what these films were. We actually took a poll at Variety ahead of the Academy Awards, and the film that people knew the most was only 48% of individuals, but most of them didn't even know what was nominated. So that was one of the confusing creative elements of last night. And I think something else that was a major missed opportunity was that there should have been more conversation about movie theaters, reopening them, why they are important to the industry, why people love to go to the theaters. And the only time that we heard anything mentioned about theaters was in Frances McDormand's acceptance speech and also Regina King. So I would imagine that the movie theaters, the exhibitors, are not very happy with the Academy for not using their platform, the biggest night in film, to talk about why you should be seeing films in theaters when it's safe to do so.
The other thing was we lost giants in the industry in the past year, both in front of and behind the camera. And the in memoriam segment, at least for me, Elizabeth, it was a flyby. And no disrespect, but the makeup artist got the equal billing to, a film legend in there, and they were for 1 second at a pop. I mean, I thought that was another chance to remind people through COVID in the last year, not just the experiences of seeing movies, but so many of the people that span generations that left us. Rob Reiner was up there for, I think, half a second. I was stunned by that.
I couldn't agree with you more. It sounds like we have the same exact Oscars criticism, and I actually thought that the in memoriam was quite disrespectful. It was a flyby. There wasn't even enough time to really digest who they were putting up on screen. And what was really perplexing to me about this is, first and foremost, an in memoriam segment should never fly through those who we have lost. And whether they are legends in the film industry or hair and makeup artists, none of them should be rushed through. But the other thing that was confusing is they had the time. It's not like they were lost for time. This was a 3-hour telecast. It already went overtime. And each of the acceptance speeches and even the presenters, the speeches were so long. And that was something that the producers, specifically Steven Soderbergh, he had said prior to the Oscars airing last night. He said that they weren't going to cut anyone off, that they think that people like the acceptance speeches. But some of those speeches went on like 7-8 minutes. And then there was a moment where there was trivia about music in film. And when that happened, I said to myself, are we really doing film trivia? And then, of course, Glenn Close, she saved the day. And she had probably the most memorable moment of the night with her dance moves and saved that trivia moment. But you could have easily cut out trivia and made in memoriam longer. So I agree with you. That was one of the very confusing creative elements. And I would love to hear from the producers what went into some of these creative choices.
You mentioned Glenn Close moment. I thought Thomas Vinterberg, that Danish director, it broke your heart when he talked about losing his child. I even think the beginning, the Regina King walk, was really cool, and I was hopeful that we'd see more of that. But at the end, finally, what was up with ending on Best Actor? By the way, I don't know, a little bit tone deaf, I guess, in the whole Me Too. And then you do it where everyone expects it's Boseman, and instead it's Anthony Hopkins. He's nowhere to be found, and Joaquin Phoenix doesn't even want to see him to be there, announcing who the winner is. The whole thing was bizarre, and they say good night. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. What? That was weird, wasn't it?
So when you say what's up with that, that is what I'm wondering. And when I say I have some questions for the producers, this is certainly one of them. And first and foremost, I do want to make clear, I actually really liked a lot of the energy and the feeling of last night. I loved Regina King. I loved how everybody, you could really feel that they were excited to be there in person. And I was on the red carpet. I was one of those people who got 3 COVID tests to safely attend. And you felt that in person. It did feel like everybody was just thrilled to finally not be at home and to be together for the celebratory night. But the night really ended on what I think is the most anticlimactic Oscars moment in recent history. Why they switched Best Picture with Best Actress and Actor, usually Best Picture goes at the end. The only thing that I can think of is that they thought that this moment was going to go to the late Chadwick Boseman, that he would earn a posthumous Oscar for his role in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. I guess what we know now is that the producers actually don't know who the winners are before we know at home. So I guess that's good, that there really is a true element of surprise. But if they did know, you can't imagine any scenario where they would have ended with Anthony Hopkins winning and not even being there in person. So I think they intended for this to be a huge celebratory night, but the fact that they didn't foresee the possibility of this major upset and then how it would just end on a downer was really, really strange.
And listen, it sounds like Elizabeth too. I'm not a hater here. I wanted this to be a good night. I want movies to make a huge comeback. I want theaters to be filled again. But it was a weird night. Anyway, Elizabeth Wagmeister, I appreciate a few minutes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. We're going to be right back to put a bow on the show.
Need life insurance? SelectQuote found Jacob, 40, a $500,000 policy for only $19 a month. And SelectQuote found his wife, Wendy, a $500,000 policy for only $17 a month.
Our secret? At SelectQuote, we aggressively comparison shop up to 10 highly rated companies to find you the company with the best rates. Why pay more? Give your family the security they need at a price you can afford. SelectQuote. We shop, you.
Villains, robbers, bandits, crooks, they're all over your TV screen. But the biggest thieves are behind your screen. I'm talking about the cable companies. They charge monthly subscriptions, fees, rentals, and force you to take long-term contracts. Well, it's time to say goodbye to the cable guy, because now you can watch 4K Ultra HD broadcast TV for free. Introducing Clear TV's new 4K Ultra HD design, the Premium HD. Just plug it into your TV and start watching for free. You will instantly receive top-rated network shows, local news and weather, sporting events, and even Ultra HD 4K broadcast shows, all for free. Thanks to a federal government mandate, all broadcasters are required to transmit a digital TV signal through the airwaves. The new Premium Clear TV lets you bypass cable or satellite to bring network and 4K broadcast shows directly to your television. Retract the antenna to keep it small or extend them for maximum reception.
Setup was so easy. I took my Clear TV antenna, plugged it into the back of the TV, and now I can watch my favorite broadcast channels anywhere in the house for free.
We're just off the coast here in the Gulf of Mexico receiving free network broadcast HD TV. Imagine all the free shows you'll receive at home.
Basic cable and satellite services can cost you up to $80 a month. That's $960 a year and almost $10,000 over a 10-year period. Watch TV in as many rooms as you like with no additional monthly fees. Stop spending money you don't have to spend. Call or go online now and get your premium Clear TV 4K Ultra HD antenna for only $19.95. It's backed by our 60-day money-back guarantee. Order now and you can add a second Clear TV free. Just pay separate processing and handling. That's a $40 value for only $19.95.
I can't believe I get all these channels for free. Plus 4K Ultra HD, Clear TV is for real.
Well, that's going to do it for us tonight. But tune in tomorrow evening. We're going to be joined by a doctor, and we're going to have a bunch of COVID questions, including for those of us that have been double vaccinated, when can we start to enjoy some of the freedoms that we had in a pre-pandemic world? And we are nearing the 100-day mark for the Biden administration. How is he doing, and what can we expect going forward from what has been a very eventful beginning to a first term? That and much more starts tomorrow evening, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. I hope to see you Tuesday.